We're going to talk about step aside InfoPath Designer. Here comes PowerApps. My name is Daniel Christian. I'm a Microsoft MVP. But before we jump in, I want to kind of give a disclaimer that the title does sound a little rude, and that was not my intention. And here's why. I invested a lot of my own personal time and money learning InfoPath Designer. If you go to Microsoft TechNet Wiki, you'll actually find my articles over there about InfoPath Designer. And then, when the final announcement was made that InfoPath Designer is going away, and after I went through a whole bunch of therapy sessions, I decided to see what is the successor, and I really tried to test it till it broke to see what I can do with it. So this topic is a really personal one to me. And so when I tested to see, and I made a pretty, I would say, advanced InfoPath Designer form, and I moved that over. I mean, when I say moved, I rebuilt that in PowerApps just to see, one, can it be, can it be rebuilt in PowerApps? And then second, what more can I do to enhance it? So I just want to kind of call that out over here. That no ill intentions. This is a topic that is really near and dear to my heart. So, just to look at a little bit of the history about this. This original update was made back in 2014. That InfoPath 2013 application is the last version, and then initially it was talked about that it'll be last version in Server 2013. Got updated to Server 2016. In fact, one of the articles whose name I can't disclose, their blog started off with saying InfoPath is dead. That's how they actually went ahead, and because of disclaimer, I can't tell you who those were. But anyway, eventually things changed. The date changed from 2023 to 2026, which just means there'll be no support available. That's because there was a big pushback from end users that this is going to happen. And anyway, that's the final thing over there. So here's the latest information. InfoPath Designer is supported in SharePoint Server 2016 and 2019. In 2019, it'll be in the hidden view, which means in the modern view, you won't see it. You just see PowerApps and Flow. But if you go in the classic view, you will still see it, both online and on-prem. So that's one thing over there. Second thing is it is currently also supported in SharePoint Online. Same thing. It's only on the modern view. But if you go to the classic view, you'll be able to see it over there. And then the support ends in 2026 over there. A couple of other things. There is no migration tool or path from PowerApps to InfoPath Designer yet. You have to rebuild from scratch. I know personally that there are some other companies looking into it, but if they get it done, that's a big breakthrough in technology because they are two separate applications altogether. So we'll see what happens over there. But I know for a fact that Microsoft has not invested any of their time right now to do that. Okay, so introductions about PowerApps. Excuse me. Introductions about PowerApps was originally made in November 30th, and it was introducing PowerApps, and back in 2015, it just came out, just introducing PowerApps. Second thing was, it basically gave a little bit more functionality of what PowerApps do. At that time, I was aware of what it is going to be. I never actually deep dive into it. But then, also more and more information came out. Darshan Desai, he's a really good group manager for PowerApps, and he went ahead and gave some more information about that. That's also when the preview was available. So I kind of jumped in and just a little bit of testing on it. Not so much yet. However, when this announcement was made that PowerApps and Flow is going to be the successor of InfoPath Designer and SharePoint Designer, that's when I finally jumped in and really tested to see, can PowerApps really be a true successor of InfoPath Designer? And the same thing for Flow. So anyway, so far, it is what it is. The PowerApps is a successor to InfoPath, and the same thing can go for Flow as a successor for SharePoint Designer. Initially, when the preview first came out, it came on like as always the SharePoint people do. They put it on a holiday. This one came out on May the 4th. Initially, there was just the Create Power App functionality on the bottom right. That changed to putting just the Power Apps Create a New App on the top. And then finally, this is what it is now, that you see Power Apps and you can create an app, and then you can go ahead and customize the form. So this is where we stand right now. Unless there was some announcement made in this morning's sessions which I missed, this is what I know for a fact. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and just do some demos. I want to jump in and show what finally proved to me that PowerApps and Flow is a true successor. So okay, so first things first is it's that InfoPath Designer form that I talked about, and I kind of made it a little bit more complex. So let me just show you this InfoPath Designer that I made. And by the way, when I'm making that InfoPath Designer form and the PowerApps form, it's the exact same list. I just went ahead and built two separate forms. So here's the good old InfoPath Designer. And the scenario, as you can see, it is a new employee coming on board, and we just need an asset for that. So now with InfoPath Designer, previously with InfoPath Designer, if I clicked on user, I was able to do some fun things where I was able to go ahead and make sure that if it's a user, the chances of this being an upgrade is higher. Also, if it is an upgrade and if it's a user, he probably is a full-time user. So I was able to do all of this with InfoPath Designer. Clicked on one radio button, and the other one's automatically uploaded. Second thing, I made a connection to user profile services where it could tell that the user who's logged in, go ahead and get his first name, last name, job title, and so on and so forth. Also, with InfoPath Designer, I was able to go and do three level of cascading. So I say I pick Dell, device, laptop. And based on those three levels that I've selected, excuse me, I'm actually fighting a cold. Makes me sound I'm emotional. I'm not emotional. I'm just fighting this cold. No, just as a call out that this is InfoPath Designer. So this is the cascading level. So based on what I selected over here, this one's get filtered. What I selected over there, this one gets filtered. And then I go ahead and click on yes, yes, yes. Again, remember, this is only InfoPath Designer. I went ahead and submitted that. The new item came up. That's the one over there. And, and also an email notification will go out through SharePoint Designer. An email notification, actually, let me turn on my Outlook. And the email notification basically just sends it directly to the manager saying that, hey, Daniel's requested this email. This new asset, so can you go ahead and approve it? So once the approve, the email basically, the notification sends you to a link, and that link, it's just updating. So that email will be here any second, and there you go. There's that email. That email says that please review the hardware request for Daniel Christian. So I go and click that for further information. Also, if any of you guys remember, back in the good old days, if you just went to edit, if, and display ifs, and I just changed that to edit, that display form automatically changes into the edit form. If any of you guys remember this, yeah. And so I'm going to go and set on approve, submit, and then another email goes out, basically this time to the end user, that, hey, your asset was approved. And everything is good. And that goes out as an email notification. And so you'll see that email show up over here. Email notification pieces were working through SharePoint Designer through a workflow. And just to quickly show you that, here is that workflow. Again, I won't deep dive too much into that, but I'll just kind of show you give you a quick overview. First is just if the approval is yes, then go ahead and send out that email notification. After the email notification is approved, go ahead and update what I call as an inventory list, so you can keep track of all the items which have already been picked. So it keeps track of the keyboard, mouse, and things like that. So it makes sure that there's enough assets left for that device that is selected. All of that was done through in SharePoint Designer. So here, you could see that this was actually that email which comes out from SharePoint Designer, and it comes directly to me. That's one thing. Second thing was I have the inventory list. This inventory list was updated by that workflow which I just showed you, building SharePoint Designer. And in that SharePoint, if I go ahead and, I think it should be refreshed. Yep, this is the one that I just selected. It went ahead and automatically subtracted that by 1. Now, you could take this flow to the next level by saying that, hey, if this goes anything below 25, send an email notification to the inventory department to go ahead and do all of that. This is pretty sophisticated using InfoPath Designer and SharePoint Designer. This is something that I used to build all the time, and they took this away from me. So anyway, again, I'm just the kind of guy who will not look back. I knew that there was a new product, a successor that was going to come out, and if I was going to invest my time into it, then I should be at least able to replace up to this level. Granted, some of you guys developers might even export that XSN file, crack it open, do some funky things over there. I wasn't that much of a developer, but at least I should be able to do this much. So here's what I was able to do. Now I go to, where are you? Okay, so here is the same list as the previous one, but I've gone ahead and enhanced that with Power Apps. So I go ahead and click on New, and the Power Apps slides over there. Let me actually refresh that, because I just tested it, which is why you saw that new user. All right, so I go ahead and click on New. See the Power App slides from the right. I did the exact same thing. I went ahead and did User, and it went ahead and automatically updated to Upgrade Full-Time. Now, I'm going to pause over here for a second, because there's something which happened in InfoPath Designer which doesn't happen over here. And if you guys have been heavy users of InfoPath Designer like I was, in InfoPath Designer, if I selected User, it would do the same thing. It would go ahead and select Upgrade. It would go ahead and select Full-Time. If I went ahead and selected the, say, Users, Manager, Administrator, the other ones would not change. And the only way you can change it is by actually going ahead and adding a empty functionality condition in InfoPath Designer. You had to do that. In this case, if I go ahead and select, say, Administrator, you see, these automatically get emptied automatically. I don't have to do a refresh or a clear or anything like that. So this is all out of the box. I didn't have to do anything customized. This is that level of Power Apps which was not out of the box in InfoPath Designer. So now that I did that, I'm going to go and select on hardware. Hardware, I'll do the exact same thing. Dell, laptop. It refreshed into the same one over here. Yeah, I'll do the docking station, keyboard, mouse. And you know what? Let's even have a quick look at what the device is. It takes a while to refresh, but that's the device right there. All right, so everything is good. I'm going to go ahead and click on Save. Same thing happens. A new item comes in over here. Right now, it just that new item's default title just says title. I will also get an email notification. Now, that email notification is running through Flow, and I'll show you that Flow right now. The Flow basically just kicks off, same thing as Power Apps. It'll go ahead and send out that notification, approval notification. And then once it is approved, it'll go ahead and finish the rest of the flow. So this is where it is. It's still running because it's sending out that approval notification. Here's that approval notification. Now, here's the neat thing. I can do that approval directly in the email template. So I'm going to just select that so you guys can get a better view. I'll approve it. Give the biggest monitor available. Submit. It's working on it. And basically, once it finishes, it'll send out another email notification to the end user who's getting that update, saying that your approval is completed. And that means the rest of the flow now will finish. The rest of the flow will finish. And it will send now that same type of email notification that you saw in Power Apps as well. So I should any second now get another email like that. And if you see that the look and the feel was very similar to what the previous InfoPath Designer was. So now also, when I go over here, I'll just refresh that. It is still running, which means what it's doing is it's going ahead and updating that asset list at the back end on the inventory side. So let me just give it a second to finish. Get my voice back. Still running. I had a problem with that this morning. I'm not sure what caused it. The only fix was to read on it, so let's see what happens. Still running. Basically, in short, what it is doing is it is going ahead and updating its own list over here. And this is what I had an inventory one for the InfoPath Designer. I have an inventory 3 for the PowerApps one. And it is doing the exact same thing. If any of you are interested, this is kind of gives you an overview of what that flow looks like. And I'll just click on that so you can see as an overview of how that flow, the flow's conditions are. So pretty much the same thing. It is going, and that's where it failed, but I'll read on it and that'll work. Pretty much the same thing, that it goes ahead and sends the approval. It waits for the approval, and then if it is approved, then it'll go ahead and update all the items over there. If it doesn't, then it just goes ahead and sends out a last notification saying that your request was rejected. Let me go and resubmit that, just see what happens. So we'll give it a minute. I know I only have 4 more minutes. So one more thing I want to show is that, just migrating it from PowerApps, from InfoPath Designer to PowerApps is good, but what else can I do with it? And for that, I said, not only am I going to stop over here, but I'm going to move over to building it as a completely mobile app. So let me just double check. Daniel's phone. I got to make sure they're all in the same machine, same internet. And hopefully this will work. So pick that up. I'm basically just trying to share my screen away. Okay, so there's the screen. Now I'm going to go into my Power App, all on my mobile phone. In the mobile phone, I already have the PowerApps and the Flow. So first I'm going to go ahead, and you have to have these two available if you're trying to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to go to PowerApps, and I'm going to find that same app. Come on. All right, so that's the mobile demo. Click on that. And one of the things I like to do is I like to do a lot of user interface for best user experience. That's why you saw the two things sliding over there. All right, so let me go and hit a new one. I'm going to hit that plus. Nope. Same thing. If I'm a user, it goes ahead and automatically populates the exact same way. Does the Daniel Christian over there. Yeah, I'll leave that as it is. And it's all dynamic, see? So if I selected that, it's all dynamic. And I'll go ahead and submit it. Submit request, yes. So it's sending it. The flow is kicking off. I already see the new item over here. And it's going to send a notification. There's the notification that comes in directly from my mobile app. I go and again, the mobile flow app has to already be there. Now in here, I'll go ahead and do the exact same type of approval I did it on the email. So I'll say yes, approved. And this time I'll just say change, confirm. And the approval is done. Now, I know that there's at least one of you over here who's thinking what I was thinking, and I went ahead and validated that, is that, okay, so you got an email notification on your app, but you also got an email notification on your Outlook. Can two approvals be done at the same time? So just to make sure you guys understand that, it does happen, yes, and this is the final one that goes. This was the second approval that came, but if I go ahead and approve it, say submit, it is working on it, and it says you have already completed this request. So it keeps track of has something already been happened over there. So all in all, I believe that, and by the way, on the flow side, the exact same thing. It went ahead and updated the inventory list as well, and then you can take it to the next level where it will go ahead and update, the inventory, and then you can take that flow to the next level where it will go ahead and, if you go below 25, send another flow notification to go ahead and update that. But this was my proof to me that I can take an advanced InfoPath Designer and an advanced, or at least an intermediate advanced level InfoPath Designer and PowerApps and a Flow solution, move that over to PowerApps and Flow solution. It works, but also take it to the next level by making it 100% mobile. So thanks for stopping by, and if you have any questions, stop by and let me know. Bye.